Okay, welcome to week 4, DES 116. Tonight we're going to be talking about branding. And I'm going to start off by doing a little bit of a discussion about our final project, which will be using inspiration from case studies. You're going to redesign an existing corporate brand and branded identity. This document that I have open here is a branding PowerPoint template where I'm going to go over talking a little bit about branding and what are some of the things that you need to consider and deal with when you're working with branding. It's more than just creating a logo. There's a number of issues that go into it. So tonight's demonstration will be for me to talk about branding in general. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very wide, as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to get through as many different images and pieces that I've created for different people and talk about the branding aspects of all of that. So that's kind of where I'm heading with this. What you ultimately are going to end up doing, though, is you're going to create a series of 5 advertisements that each utilize the same style and branding. So you're either going to modify or redesign some sort of a branding, a company's brand, and then you're going to develop it into a series of elements that would support that brand. A series of 5 advertisements, different media perhaps, a billboard, either a bus ad, bus shelter ad, a magazine ad, a web ad, a corporate identity system, which incorporates pieces for branding, a logo, letterhead, business card, trifold, website. So in other words, there's an awful lot of variety for you to pick and choose, and that's one of the things that I want to go over with you tonight so that you don't feel locked in. You don't feel that you have to do this, that, and the other thing. You can choose 5 different things. As far as I'm concerned, as long as they are all viable and real elements that go within the context of a company's branding, I'm open to it. Okay, so that being said, let's talk a little bit about branding in general. What is a brand? A brand is a name, a term, the design, symbol, color, and other feature that distinguishes one seller's product or service from those of others. Brands are developed for the purpose of marketing and advertising a business, a product, or a service. So essentially, a brand is a series of things. It's not just one thing. You're talking about the use of symbolism. You're talking about use of text, color, shape, ideas. They're all different things that come together to develop the brand for the purpose of marketing a business advertisement or a business product or service. Brand recognition. A widely known brand is said to have brand recognition. Brand recognition is most successful when people can state a brand without being explicitly exposed to the company's name. So in other words, if you become a household word or a thought that somebody is clear on, you have brand recognition. Usually that comes about through the implementation of the branding. In other words, the people who implement the brand properly will ultimately achieve brand recognition. In other words, you might have 6 different people working on different projects. And in the end, even though they're all created from 6 different people, a certain aspect of each piece will look the same because all the 6 different people will respect the branding that is required of them to make the piece consistent, and you'll end up with a similar look. For example, Disney successfully branded its particular script from font originally created from Walt Disney's signature logo. And if you want to know another really good example of that, it's the original Coca-Cola script, which has been used since, I guess, somewhere in the early 1900s or late 1800s. That font goes all the way back to there. They also use white and black, or white and red, which is consistent on all of their branding. Brand awareness. Brand awareness is a customer's ability to recall and recognize the brand, the logo, and advertisements. Branding helps the customers understand the category in which the particular brand belongs and what products or services sell under the brand name. So really what it comes down to is, again, marketing and how you market the product. By doing it correctly, by being brand conscious, the people will become conscious. They will begin to recognize your brand. They will begin to search out your brand. Remember that most of the products will be in with other products, and how well you brand your product will help determine how well your brand gets picked up in the marketplace. It also ensures the customer know which of their needs are being satisfied by the brand through its products. Brand awareness is a critical importance in competitive situations, since customers will not consider a brand if they're not aware of it. So that's part of the problem right there. When you're dealing with a product, how do you make the customer aware of your product? The visuals you choose, the branding that you choose, the way you market your product, the effectiveness. I mean, when you stop and think about it, part of branding is knowing who your target audience is. Who are the people that you are going after with your marketing? Is your brand supporting those people and what they would think and want in a brand? That's what's really key here. So it goes into a lot of different things. And why I'm saying all this to you is because, you know, again, you're going to consider the idea of rebranding a product. I really want you to think about this when you do it. Pick a product that you're comfortable with. Pick a service that you're comfortable with. Pick something that you can relate to. Because again, this is probably the first time you're really going to do this. I have never really completely rebranded a product. That doesn't happen very often. And usually when that happens, people who are doing that go to experts, really big experts. But I've worked almost my entire life within graphic design constructs that come from branding. And I've had manuals from many different companies, branding manuals, which literally tell me what I should and should not be doing. And again, to go back to why I say this is, if I have 5 different people that are doing different jobs, maybe somebody's doing web design, maybe somebody's doing print design, maybe somebody's doing ad specialty design. Each one of those persons needs to understand what they can and can't do with the branding elements, the colors, the use of symbolism, the use of text, the use of the logo. Just the logo itself. What can you do with it? What can you not do with it? There are clear-cut limitations put when you are branding these things. There are things they do not want you to ever do with the brand. There are things which are acceptable to do. And they will tell you this. They should be telling you this. Most companies of any size and stature will do this. So these are the things that I think are important for you to at least hear from me, so that when you go in and you start doing this, you can think about this and you can say to yourself, what do I need to do to be effective in creating this brand? What do I need to think about? What do I need to look at? So again, that's what I want you to be thinking about when you do these projects. Branding typically comprise various elements, and here are some of the elements that I think are important for you to understand. The name, the word or words used to identify a company, product, service, or concept. Disney, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Logo, a visual mark that identifies a brand. What kind of a mark is it? Is it a word mark? Is it a combo mark? Is it an emblem? Tagline or catchphrase? Something that goes along usually with the logo and the branding. It's finger-licking good, as associated with Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm sure you probably have at least heard this once or twice on TV. It's a constantly used tagline or catchphrase. Finger licking good. Think about that. Think about, is there some sort of a tagline that you're going to incorporate into your rebranding along with the name and the logo which you're going to create? Graphics. The specific color of red is a key part of the Coca-Cola brand. Also, if you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's some of the distinctive shapes used by Kentucky Fried Chicken incorporate the use of red and black. Shapes, the distinctive shapes of Coca-Cola bottles, the Volkswagen Beetle. Also, if you take a look at the use of the tubs that they use in Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken, I mean, they could go and they could use boxes. There are companies that produce boxed products that they sell, but they choose to use the tub. That's their brand. That's their shape. That's the distinct part of the distinct plan they have to market their product. And of course, colors, which are incredibly important. Owens Corning is the only brand of fiberglass insulation that could be pink. Now that's taking it right into the product itself. But more importantly, for you to understand that colors apply and appear in many, many different ways. Again, to go back to what I was saying before, Coca-Cola primarily uses red and white. And I'll tell you something, it hasn't deviated. You can go back and look at Coca-Cola bottles that go all the way back to the 1920s, and it's always been that red and that white. It's always been that way, and it will probably continue being that way. And of course, there are other things such as sounds, a unique tune or a set of noises notes that can denote a brand. The chiming provides a famous example for NBC. Scents, a rose jasmine musk scent of Chanel No. 5. It's a trademarked scent. Tastes, Kentucky Fried Chicken has trademarked its special recipe of 11 herbs and spices for the fried chicken. Movements, Lamborghini has trademarked the upper motion of a car door. So there are many things that these people will trademark. We don't really get into any of that stuff here. I think ultimately I want you to focus your attention and your thinking when you do your rebranding on the name that you're going to use. Are you going to use the full name? Are you going to use initials? What are you going to do? You have to be the designer. You have to be the creative person to come up with this. Sometimes there are companies that use both names and initials at different times. Sometimes they use just initials. Sometimes they use the full name spelled out. Sometimes they have some sort of a surname that they use. So you need to decide this. What kind of a logo are you going to create for your brand? I mean, is it going to be a word mark where there's just words? Is it going to be a letter mark where you're going to focus on some sort of a relationship between the letters of the words? Maybe the initials of the words. Is it going to be a combination mark where you're going to use the word or words in combination with some sort of a graphic symbol? There are many different types of logos. You should probably take a look at the 5 or 6 different types of primary logos that there are so that you can understand what your real range of product that you can create is. A tagline or a catchphrase, that's a tough one. Always creating a tagline or a catchphrase is tough. And you can create many taglines that can be used universally at different times. But coming up with one finger-licking good example is probably something that they spent a great deal of time, research, and energy on coming up with. Believe me, it sounds so simple, but believe me when I tell you, there were probably men working hour after hour after hour trying to come up with its finger-licking good. I know it doesn't sound like it, but believe me, this stuff just doesn't come out of space like that. Maybe once in a while it does, but the majority of the time, a great deal of effort, a great deal of thinking, a great deal of time goes into this. As far as graphics are concerned, that's another area that you have to really work on. Graphics are something too that you have to give serious thought to. What can you use? What kind of symbols can you incorporate with your branding that will help to establish a unique look, a presence that will help you to gain power in the marketplace? And of course, shapes. Are you going to incorporate some kind of special shape into something? That's something that's used very widely in many different ways. You can use die-cut cards if you want. You could use multi-fold brochures. All of these things incorporate unique shapes, which will give it a unique presence to your particular product or service. And colors. I got to tell you something. People spend probably tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars doing research on colors for their brand. They don't just take this seriously. I mean, they don't just take this lightly. They take it very seriously. A lot of work and effort goes into this. And once these colors have been established, once they come to a color scheme for their product or service, they have very specific color usage. They have an RGB color version of that color for web work. They have a CMYK and a Pantone version of that color, so that if they're working on a multicolor project, like maybe a business card or something, where there's maybe 1 or 2 colors being used, or 3, they have very specific colors that are Pantone colors that they use that are their color. If it's a 4-color process ad or a poster or maybe a billboard, they will have a CMYK version of their logo. And that would be what you would need as a designer to use. So when you do this, I'd like you to really think about all this stuff. Now, you don't not necessarily have to create all these things. It would be nice if you did, because it would show that you are truly thinking about it. But the graphic designer like myself, when I work on a project like this, that's exactly what I do. I mean, I actually, at some point in the process, come up with I'm just going on color at this moment. I would come up with a version of the color in RGB, a version of the color in CMYK, and a version of color in Pantone. And then this way, I would literally put it together in a book form with the logo, so that if I gave this to another person in my office, or somebody who is basically coming in to do a job as an outside source, that person knows the logo and how it should be used and the colors that they must use. And of course, if they don't use those colors, they stand to have their project, at least in part, rejected or sent back to them for correction. And the same thing would be with me. If I was working for somebody and I did some part of my particular job, and if I didn't basically honor the colors that, or usage of the logo to a way that's an accepted way, it would be rejected. I would expect that. So this is why I want you to understand how important all this stuff is. I'm not just, making all this up, and I think it's something that you need to understand. So here we go. We got our first visual, and this is the tub I was talking about. Take a look at the tub. Again, I don't expect you to make this tub as part of your presentation, but I just wanted to point out some stuff. Take a look at the way this is handled. Look at the graphic that was created for Colonel Sanders. I mean, if you really do some research in Colonel Sanders, you can go back and you can see that Colonel Sanders has changed and has evolved through the decades. He looked totally different in the 1950s. In the 60s, he looked different. In the 70s. Now he looks like this. And you can see that they are very clean and very precise with their coloration. Nice, clean, white tub. These bright red color bands that come down here. The black of the symbol, this is his basically his it's a combination mark, and this is his symbol. And down here, Kentucky Fried Chicken. There you have it. And over here, there it is, the tagline or catchphrase. It's finger looking good. It's all right there. So again, what you need to do is you need to think about this. When I create something, whether it is going to be a business card, whether it's going to be an ad, a web banner, a web page, whatever you choose to do, the branding is what I want you to focus on very strongly. And I want you to try to establish a way of working with the branding so that there's a consistency from piece to piece. When I look at 5 different pieces from you, I hope to be seeing the branding being used in the same way in all cases, with the same color and the same kind of relationship. Theory and branding. The final project, of course, using inspiration from case studies viewed in your textbook, redesign an existing corporate brand and branded identity. Create 5 images that relate to this brand. I'm going to show you some samples of some of the work that I've done for other people here. Hopefully it'll inspire you, it'll give you some ideas, but the important thing is I have a very open mind about this. I really do. I'd like to see you come up with some nice stuff. So, you know, you could come up with a version of a logo and its color. That would be one way to go. You could come up with, say, a business card. That would be one way to go. You could come up with an ad slick and show me what an ad might look like. That might be one way to go. You could come up with maybe an HTML email, or you could come up with a web banner. I'm going to show you a little bit about this after a while. I'll show you hopefully a little more that will make it a little easier for you to handle all this stuff. Billboard, I actually put a sample of a billboard in there for you, and I'm going to show you how to work with that later on so that you could create a billboard. But again, here's my point, and I think this is a very important point for you to understand. What I want you to focus on here is branding. That's what this is all about. This isn't about just making a billboard. This isn't about just making a business card. This isn't about using a logo or creating a logo. It's about how you do that and how you coordinate the look. I'm not saying that everything has to look exactly the same, because again, a business card is going to look significantly different than a billboard. However, what I want you to do is I want you to consider the use of your branding elements on both the business card and the billboard, or the web page, or the web ad. Whatever you choose to use, I want you to consider how you are branding it, how you are making this look as though it comes from the same company, and you're showing the greatest respect for the branding elements. That's what this is really all about. It's really an important point. Theory and branding. A series of 5 advertisements, each using the same brand. This is kind of redundant. I already went through this, so I'm not going to go through it. But I will say this. A corporate identity system incorporates 5 pieces of branding. Example: logo, letterhead, business card, trifold, website, magazine ad, bus shelter, business ad. There's a wide variety of things that you could do here. And I'm going to demonstrate some stuff shortly that I think will help you quite a bit. And again, give you some a better look at how you might approach some of this. I'm now at the point where dimensions of the larger piece. Okay, so yeah, this is, maybe I should talk about this a little bit. The dimensions of your larger pieces, such as your billboard, business ad, bus shelter ad, you don't have to make these things full size. In the end, you would have to make them to a certain size, but you don't have to here. These are just for presentation. They can be smaller in scope and size. However, what I would like you to do is, if you're going to make something like a billboard, I have a billboard sample that I've uploaded for you. I'd like you to use that, because it basically, and I'll show you how you can use it. I'll show you an interesting way that you can use it very easily if you're going to be working in Illustrator, which I truly recommend that you do. Illustrator gives you the greatest flexibility for most of the work that you'll be doing here, so I recommend that. But anyway, you know, you don't need these things to be actual size, but they should be reflective of the actual proportions. So in other words, if you're going to make something that looks like a billboard, in the end it should be representative of what a billboard size and shape would be. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to make something that doesn't look like a billboard. I mean, so really, I mean, let's use some common sense here. We are designers. Show that you really care about what you're doing. Take some time, do some make an effort. Again, I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. So by the time you get done here tonight, you'll have seen quite a few different things. You'll have this recording. You can go back and refer to the recording. And I think you should have much less trouble working through this once we get through with this tonight. So my first image here is an advertisement. This is an advertisement that I did for Hope Diamonds. I did this through an ad agency approximately 10 years ago. So basically, if you take a look here, I can't zoom in on this, but you can see that they have a combination mark. The combination mark is this little, oh, I don't know what you'd call it, little scroll of 3 hearts and the word hope, which is very simple text, but it is a very specific text. So, you know, in creating this for them, the perfection of the, I can't even remember what it said, the perfection of, I can't even read it, of stars and hearts and arrows. Yeah, it's something like that. It's been a while since I did this, so I don't remember it exactly. But the point I'm trying to make here is this particular one, they had a white version of the logo, they had a black version of the logo, and they had a color version of the logo. In this particular ad, as the graphic designer, I had the choice between using a black design, a white design, or the color design. In this particular case, since I chose to actually put the logo, which is a little bit outside the norm, so to speak, because this isn't something that we generally do, but I did want to focus us directly on that logo. I thought it was that important. I put that over top of that diamond. This is a diamond that demonstrates the hearts and arrows. So since I put that logo dead square in the middle, right on top of that, I chose the black version because I thought it would stand off in bold relief against that diamond. Choice that I made as a designer. I then brought these other ring elements in, silhouetted, and dropped them in across the bottom. And then, of course, their basic information is at the bottom, and their inspired designs for Hope square cut diamonds, and then their copy for the ad. So it's a very simple ad, very elegant for a very exclusive product. In this particular case, the use of the logo is really stretching it because it is not how you normally handle a logo. A lot of times a logo like that would be located like here or over in the corner, and the copy would be there. In this particular case, I, in a very bold move, decided to stick it right in the middle, right over top of the product. And I made the product deliberately, it's almost like not there. In other words, it's there, but it's just there enough that you kind of get this and you get like a, well, I want to see more. That's the kind of attitude that I was putting into this. So again, very untraditional way of handling this. It was from an agency. I can show you 3 other versions later on. This was the one that they chose, again, where I used the logo in a very unusual way. This is something, again, that the designer will do, but you have to have the right company to accept something like this because it is a little bit different than the normal use of the design. And you know what, now that I think about it, let me do this. Let me go to view, and let me hide the rulers and the guidelines and the grids. I think that might be better. Okay, see, now you can see a little bit better. Okay, so yeah, the perfection of hearts and arrows. There you go. Now I can see a little bit better. So again, what I want to point out here is that this is a very traditional kind of logo. It's called a combination mark. I did not design that logo. That was their logo. That's what they were using. What I did essentially was I designed this ad for them. I have 3 other ads that I did along with this that I'll show you later. But in my case here, I really pushed the envelope because I decided to use the logo in a very radical way. And I say that because, again, usually these companies have branding requirements. A lot of times they would not allow a logo to be used this way. But in this particular case, I did it this way, and I did it several other ways. They thought this one worked very well, and in the end, that's what they chose. So that's that. Here is the next image. This is another example. These are different pieces. This is showing you some different ads. They're different general kind of ads that you could do here. These are full page ads. So the full page ad is probably the easiest ad for you to do because you just basically can present to me an 8.5 by 11 page. You can either bleed the elements or you could not bleed the elements. It's very important that you understand the concept of bleeding. I don't know whether you do or not because I have nobody here to talk to, and I haven't really, I have no idea what you guys have studied before this, but the concept of bleeding is that you have this red area at the top here. The red area goes exactly to the edges of the piece. In order to do that, you have to actually make them go a little further in the real production world. So when you make this, when you really produce this, you would ultimately be setting it up to bleed. So that's what I just want you to know about with this. If you decide to make an ad like this, and this is like a quarter page ad. This is an eighth of a page ad. This is an eighth of a page vertical, I believe, and this is an eighth of a page horizontal, and this is a quarter. So in other words, if you were to lay this over top of this, this would represent approximately a quarter of that page. This would be an eighth of that page vertically, or one column. If it were like a 4-column or a 3-column page where you got 3 columns of copy, this would take up 1 column, a quarter of 1 column. So again, these are a little harder for you to deal with, but what I would recommend that you do if you're going to make an ad is just do me a nice full page ad. And I'll let you, at this point, make it somewhat easier on yourself. My piece, I'll go back to it real quick. My piece, even though it looks like it's 8.5 by 11, was not 8.5 by 11 because there was very specific journals that this was going in. There were 2 or 3 of them. So I actually had to make them slightly different sizes. But mine didn't bleed in this particular case, so I didn't have too much of a problem with this. Okay, but here I'm just saying 8.5 by 11 would be fine when you make your ad. Okay, a business card. Here's a logo that I worked on for my company called Firma Flooring. This hasn't been approved yet, but it's one of the versions of the logo that I've recreated for them. And again, you know, Firma Flooring is the actual logo itself, and this is a combination mark, although it is a very simple combination mark where I'm just using a circular shape and I'm punching the letter F out of it. That's really all I'm doing there. This is not one of the more inspired combination marks that I've ever created. Matter of fact, very often I just do very simple combination marks like this. But the actual logo, Firma, and then Flooring, an American and exotic collection, that would be the tagline. So again, you know, I'm basically setting up a business card, but I'm also setting up a logo and how the logo would set up. It's Firma Flooring. So you can see that when we use this logo, the logo would be used in black and white. It could be used in black and white, in which case everything would just be black. Where you see red, it would just be black. It could also be in white, where everything you see black then would be white, and that would be on a dark surface. And then, of course, this is a 2-color job where I would have a Pantone red, a very specific Pantone red, and I would have black. That would be my color scheme for these. For this logo. And in this particular case, we're using just a regular old white card, and this is how I would set up a business card. So the business card is very easily done in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm going to open up Illustrator, and I have a logo here, and I have a logo here. I'm not really going to go to this yet, but I just want to show you something. I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to open this up. And I can come in here, and under sizes, I have different sizes. Well, obviously, I don't really have, let me see what I'm in here. I'm in Profile, let's see, Print. Let's see, maybe that'll change it. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get a business card in here. In InDesign, I do. So what I would do here, if I was going to make a business card, I would come in and I would set the units to inches because I feel more comfortable working with inches, and I think this will be easier for you to understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to set the width on this. Right now it's 8.5, but a business card is not 8.5. Business card would be 3.5, and the height of a business card would be 2 inches. So what you're looking for here, and we'll call this business card, okay, and it's the width is 3.5 and the height is 2 inches. And if you want, you can set a bleed. Now, I don't need you to set a bleed. I don't need you to do all this advanced stuff in here. I don't need that for this, but you will at some point be in a course where you will be asked to do all these things and essentially understand that the bleed will set up an amount of space that will enable you to run something off the page if that's what you want to do. On my card, if you go back to my card for my PowerPoint presentation, nothing is bleeding there, okay? All right, so now that I have this 3.5 by 2, this is important. I hit OK, and there you have it. There's your business card. That is exactly how I created my business card that I have in the PowerPoint presentation. So if you're going to make a business card, this is what you're going to do. And by the way, just so that you understand here, this thing does not look like a business card because right now this thing is being previewed at 520%. That means that's 520% of the size that it really is. If I go to the view menu and if I go actual size, it now is 100% and it's set to that size, which doesn't look right either. But remember, I'm on a laptop, and my laptop is smaller, so it's going to make this thing appear smaller. So that's why I generally, go to the view menu and I go fit artboard and window, and now I've fit the artboard to the window, and I just know that in reality, this here is 3.5 inches, and that's 2 inches. So really, that's all it takes for you to put together a business card. Okay? From this point on, it's totally up to you to decide what your logo is going to look like. Now, this is a logo that I created for MSI, and basically how I did this was I took a standard typeface, which is Myriad Pro Bold, and I used basic shapes, a basic shape. Actually, I can go, let's see, object, show all. Okay, so here's what I did essentially. I'm not going to do it because it would take too long, but I have these 3 objects right here. Here are the 3 objects that I used. This is the text, and if you look here, watch what happens when I go character. It's Myriad Pro Bold. Okay, so I used Myriad Pro Bold to create the text. I then took it and I created outlines. Object, create outlines. Type, create outlines. Now, that is no longer live text. That is 3 objects. I then used this circular shape here, which is just a basic tool, okay, and just made myself a circle. I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong tool here. I want the oval tool, the ellipse tool. Hold down the shift key, I made a circle. That's all that is, just a circle, okay? And delete that. And then what I did here is I created a line, and that line is what I used to create these shapes in here. And how I did this was I got this line, and I put a stroke of 9 point on it, and I went to the object menu, and I went to path, and I outlined the stroke. So now, instead of having a stroke, what I have is I have a graphic shape. You see how I have a graphic shape? It's no longer a line. If I go edit undo, there's my line. This is just a line that has a stroke on it. If I go edit redo, I now have a graphic shape. Now with that graphic shape, what I can do is I can get my direct selection tool. I can come in here and click on that point right there, and I can start modifying that shape. And I can create that look. That's probably too much, but I can go view, fit artboard, and window, and you can see how I created this object here. And then using blends and dividing this up, I was able to create that look, and I punched it all out of that text, and I end up with that logo. This is not a lesson to show you how I did this. This is just to give you a general idea of what I did to create that logo. And I expect you to do something similar to that. Now let's go over to this is a signature logo. This is an actual logo that was created. These are 3 different versions of the logo that I created. These are the colors that I chose. I hope you guys are familiar with Adobe Cooler. Adobe Cooler is where I went and created these colors. But what I essentially did here was this. Let me zoom in on this and I'll show you. So I have this logo, it's all in black and white, and you can see I still have the live text here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that shape right there, and that shape right there will get that color right there. Okay, so what you're going to have, this logo in the end, is going to be this burgundy color. It's going to have a black rule out here, a black border out here. The text will all be white. And here, this text will, and I guess it's going to be a little hard because I don't have it all selected. This is going to be fun. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, I wish I had kept the selected, or the grouped version. That would have been a heck of a lot easier for me. Let's see, get that. All right, I think we got it. We'll get it right. All right, there, and that. Okay, and that text will also get a fill of burgundy. So the final logo will look very much like that. That's what the final logo. And by the way, just so that you know, go to View menu, Fit Artboard and Window. This is the logo that I designed for Firma. This is the company that I'm working for. They have a cabinetry division, and they needed a new identity for the branding of that product. And this is the branding identity that I came up with. These are the colors that I chose to use in their marketing. This is why I was saying to you, it's more than just coming up with a logo. You got to come up with an idea for a visual, how that visual is going to look. Look, even though this is a very simple shape, it's a combo mark, because ultimately you have this oval shape, you got this border out here. It's also somewhat of an emblem, because the emblem basically is where you're utilizing shapes such as this in conjunction with your text. So we have a kind of a crossover situation for this particular logo. But that is the logo, that is the branding, these are the colors, these are the kind of things that I hope you'll take the time to think about when you do it. And I'm in a brief way, I'm trying to show you and tell you how I did this. As you can see, this is just basically text. This is text, but this is, I think this is outline. I already created outline on this, and this obviously has been created as outline as well. This is type on a path. Originally, this was type on a path, and it was set on a sender. And that's how I got it to sit that way. It was actually on that path right there, or one very much like it originally. And I set it on a sender, and then this way it sits off to a distance in a beautiful line around the bottom of the shape. So really, that's how I created that logo. And very simple, very appropriate for the product signature impressions. I use this type because it's a scripty kind of type, and yet it's got kind of a hand-done feel, very clean, very crisp. You know, so think about when you create these logos, think about the logo, think about what it's going to be used for, think about who's going to be using it, and create something appropriate. And also think about color. It's really important. Go in and take a look at Kuler. Kuler is a great application that you can get used for free, and it can give you the colors that you want very quickly. And as a matter of fact, sometimes you don't, all you have to do is, if you're looking for a particular theme of colors, I went in and looked for wood cabinetry in this, and believe it or not, I came up with about 20 different color versions that got me started real good. I was working on another company's product, which was candy. I went in and I looked up chocolate in Kuler, and I came up with a ton of really good colors for chocolate. So again, utilize these things, get your colors this way. You'll be amazed at the colors that you can come up with, and you don't even have to kill yourself to do it. You can just basically look at these colors. There are literally thousands of designers out there that are doing this kind of work and putting this stuff up there, and they have great solutions that you can use. You know, it's not illegal to use it. As a matter of fact, it's smart to use it. Because again, if it works, if it's the right color, you've saved yourself a lot of time. So let me go back to this, and let's move on a little bit, and let's take a look at some more stuff. Okay, so here we have an example of this is a billboard. And one of the things that I'm going to have you do is consider doing a billboard. So in order for you to do this, to make it easy for you, let me go back to Illustrator. And let me open up I'm going to close these guys for now. I don't need them anymore. Let me close them up. And save changes, no, I don't save my change to any of it. And they save changes, no. Okay, let me go file open, and let's see if I can find my billboard. There we go, blank billboard. I think that's it, open. And that's it. Okay, so here's what I did. I created this for you. This is a billboard. Okay, so what I want you to do here now is I want you to use this as your model for your billboard. But I got something even better. So in other words, if you want to actually work on this billboard, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go edit copy. And then I'm going to go file new. And I'm just going to call this board, okay, for lack of a better word. And I'm going to set the size up for 3 by 5 just to show you how this works. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to go edit, paste, and my billboard's in there. Now I'm going to go view, zoom out. Watch this. View, zoom out. View, zoom out. And you see my billboard? My billboard is much bigger than my artboard. This is my 3 by 5 business card. That little black line there, this is my billboard. Okay? So let's start off by doing this. Let's start off by coming over here and clicking on the artboard tool. Notice when I do that, everything changes, and I get this nice little icon-y rule that or border that has dashes. And if I click on this, or if I sit on top of it, I can drag this. So now I'm going to resize this thing, and I'm going to resize this thing. And what I'm doing really is I'm resizing that original artboard. I don't think I actually. Oh, you know what? I think I actually, no, didn't do it. I didn't do it. That's not what I did. Edit, undo. Yeah. There we go. Okay, let me click that, drag it up. There we go. And click on this and drag it down. And now watch this. If I grab my regular selection tool and click on this and hit delete, I've thrown away that piece of art that I copied out of here. It's just copied. I didn't lose this. I just copied it. But now what I've done is I've created a billboard the size, or I've created an artboard the size of my billboard. And I can now go in there and I can build on that if I want. Now the nice thing about this is I can go to my artboard file or my artboard panel, and I don't know whether you know this or not, but if you go, I'm going to close this so that I can show you where I get that. Close this as well. If I go to the window menu, I can come over here to artboards and I can open up my artboard panel. And now I have one artboard, and I'm going to call this artboard, I'm going to change its name to billboard. B-O-A-R-D, billboard. Okay, so now this is called billboard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up here, select it, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go artboard options. And now I get the artboard options dialog box. And what I can do here is I can change the size. So if I want, right now it's 7.68 inches. If I want, I can change this to 200%. Let's see if this will work. And then I'll come here and I'll change this to 200%. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to go View, Fit Artboard and Window. And now I have this thing at a size of, watch this, artboard options. I have this as a size of 15.37 of an inch, 6 by 5, 1.15 inch, which I guess is right. I'm assuming it is because I went through, you know, this, I enlarged it the same size. But anyway, what I've done is I've made this thing bigger. I'm going to go edit, undo to bring it back to its original size. Okay, and the original size is artboard options 3 by 7. Okay, so essentially why I'm showing you all this is because in Illustrator it's very easy for you to change your boards. It's very easy for you to change your artboard, and I've created the blank artboard for you, and you don't even have to work in here. Literally what you can do is you can come in and you can create a board on a separate sheet, and then you can come in and you can create your art here any size that you want. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, any size that you want, And after you're done, you can literally just copy the whole thing, group it together, copy it, paste it into here, and then just scale it down to fit on your artboard area here, or this is not the artboard area, but on your billboard area right here, and you have a billboard. Okay, so it's very important that you understand that. You can actually create 2 documents. You can work in here if you want, but I think it's a lot easier. The other way that you could do this, of course, is this. You could go to the window menu and you can go to layers, and you could lock that layer. So now you can't really do anything on that layer because it's locked. And then you can come in and you can create a new layer, and you can call this billboard art. Okay? And now you can come in and you can create anything that you want on this layer right here. Okay, so if I wanted to come in here and if I wanted to make that billboard black, I can come in here and just literally create a black billboard. And now I have a black billboard, and actually the black billboard has a white stroke, which we don't want. So I'll get rid of that. Okay, and now I've got that black billboard right there, and I can move that, but I can't move the thing beneath it because it's locked. Okay, so essentially, you know, however you decide to do this, you decide. What's important for you to understand is I have this piece of art in announcements for you, so you don't have to strain to find it, create a billboard, but again, focus on the branding, okay? So let's go back to here. That's your billboard. Now, the other thing I have here is a banner art or header art. I got a couple of pieces here. These are web banners, web banner advertisements, and this is a piece of header art. So first of all, what I did with the header art was this is a header for a website. This was not the one that was used, but it's the one that I thought was kind of interesting to look at. And if you go to image size, you'll see that this is set to inches, but I'm going to change it to pixels. And you can see that the original size of this, and why I'm doing this is because I'm trying to help you a little bit. If you decide that you want to do a web banner, that's one of the things that you want to do. If you want to do a web banner, I wanted to give you somewhat of an idea of how you might approach it. So what I did was I used an image size of a width of 800 pixels and a height of 200 pixels, and I used a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. That's basically how I created this. So I hit OK. All right, so it's 800 wide, 200 deep, 72 pixels per inch. That would be fine. In other words, if you were going to do a web banner such as this as one of your projects, that would be good numbers for you to use. I would find that acceptable with no problem whatsoever, and hit OK. And then, of course, from that point on, you know, I have a background layer. All I did was literally I put a nice gradient in the background. I have a series of images that I silhouetted. See, I got a bunch of images in here that I've silhouetted and created drop shadows for. And then, of course, and there's a, you know, this, I can shut them all off. As I shut them off, you can see them go away. All right, I think you get the idea. They're each individual element. And these are elements that I had from my client. The client supplied me all these individual pictures. I silhouetted them all, and I worked them into a composition for him. So, and then, of course, PMM Manufacturing is the name of this company. So again, we're talking branding now. So we have our PMM Manufacturing. That is his logo. He doesn't officially have a logo. He has this, okay, which is a combination of a word and letter mark. PMM and is the word, is the letter part, and this is the word part. So it's a combination of that. And then, of course, he has his tagline, supplying the fragrance and cosmetic industries for over 10 years. That's what he uses for his tagline. So again, this is just to show you how you could possibly approach doing a piece of header art. The same thing could be accomplished in Illustrator. The reason I did it in Photoshop was because it was relying heavily on silhouetting and doing some constructive work with the backgrounds and stuff like that. So that's why I did it in Photoshop as opposed to Illustrator. I do try to do a lot of this stuff in Illustrator. Okay. So that's another thing that you could do. Now these pieces of banner art, these are web banners. So let's go back into Illustrator for a minute, and let's close this one and save it. No, and let's close this one. No. And let's create let's see what we can do. I can close this because I don't need that anymore. I don't need that. Let's see what we can do to create a piece of banner art. So I'm going to go File, New. And when I open this up, I'm just going to call this banner. No, actually, I'm going to call this, web. W-E-B-B-A-N-N-E-R. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the profile from custom. I'm going to go to web. Now you can also go to devices, and they would be devices such as a phone or a one of those tablets. But in this case, let's just make it simple. Let's just play around with web. Now right away, do you see what happens here? I get 960 by 560. And if I drop this down, I have 640 by 480, 800 by 600, 960 by 580, 1024 by 768, 1280 by 800. So the point I'm trying to make here is if you decide that one of the projects that you are going to do for me will be a web banner, there's no sweat. All you have to do is come in, name it web banner, choose a profile of web, and you have basically different sizes that you can pick. You don't even have to worry about what size. Just pick any one of those sizes and it's perfectly fine. I'm not going to tell you that you have to use 640 by 480. I'm not going to tell you 800 by 600, 960 by. I'm not going to tell you any of that. You can go in and you can pick any one of those that you would like, and you can create a nice web banner to submit with your branding, focusing on branding, and that would be fine. So you've already seen now that you can create business card, stationery, letterhead, envelope if you want, business card. You can create a billboard. You can create a web banner. Okay, I'm going to just choose for the heck of it the 640 by 480, hit OK. Boom, there you go. There is your piece. And what you'll do literally is you will create on this piece your piece of art that looks somewhat like this. Here's what you have essentially. This is a piece of banner art, web banner advertisement. These are all web banner arts. So again, if you take a look, these are McDonald's. You see how they basically are working with their branding elements, their colors, the red and the gold. That's their color. Very important that they chose to feature that in a very specific way. And here are some taglines: deliciously new chicken McBites, chicken so tasty it sells itself, chicken so tasty, okay, delicious, no, I guess deliciously new legend chicken burger. Yeah, so they got three different taglines that they're utilizing here. Okay, and here's another one, Red ROB Catering Supplies. A much smaller company, but you can see that they have their own branding elements going on here. They got their color. Again, the black and red is a very strong color scheme. They used a gradient here. They used some imagery. They created a little medallion with it. They did not do a really great job silhouetting these things. But anyway, you get the general idea. That's really what I'm trying to show you. Now we get to some fun stuff. Let's look at this. So here's something else that you could do. I'm going to demonstrate this, how to do this. You don't have to do this. But I found in my last class that I demonstrated how to do this, and it excited some of the students so much that they actually went in and tried it. And one or two of them came out with some really incredible versions of what I did. As a matter of fact, one girl did almost a better job than me. So this is basically taking a branded element, which is a packaging label, and putting it on a product using Adobe Illustrator 3D. Here's another example of it, the Pepsi bottle. So I'm going to show you very quickly in Adobe Illustrator how I did a little of this, okay? Again, I can't show you the whole thing because there's just not enough time to go through the whole thing. But I think it's kind of important for you to see it as a possible option for you. So we go back to Illustrator real quick, and I'll close this, and I'll go File, Open, and I'm looking for my cat food AI. Here we go, and hit Open. Okay, so here's my cat food AI. Now, first thing that you need to understand is I created this, which is my label. So this is actually the whole reason that we're doing this, okay? Not this. This is just to make ourselves look like we know what we're doing. That's really what this is, okay? Object show all. There we go. Okay, so this was the top piece, and this was the label, and this is what I used to make that element right there, which is my little can. And you've probably seen cans of cat food that look very much like that. All right, so the important thing is chicken hearts, liver, and feast and gravy, my special kitty. That is their tagline, my special kitty. And of course, Meow Mix, that is the branding element. That's their logo. I did not create that logo. That is their logo. In this particular case, I just simply used their logo, and I incorporated the words my special kitty into a graphic presentation. We have another element, which is a cat element here, and of course there's some additional copy on it: chicken hearts and liver, feast and gravy, net weight, and gourmet cat food sliced. And of course, one of the most important things when you're working on an element such as this is to have a barcode. You really have to show a barcode. So this whole thing was basically to put together a label, and of course we're demonstrating the label on a 3D revolved object. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know is go to the window menu, and I'm going to open up symbols. This is important for you to know. Notice that in my symbols panel, I have two elements. I have the cap, which is that guy right there, and I have the label, which is that guy right there. So in other words, what I'm going to do is I am going to generate a 3D shape on that object right there. And then I'm going to use the 3D panel to place on the top of it that label, or I'm sorry, that cap art that I created, and on the extruded part, the side part, the label. That's basically how I did this. Okay, so you have to realize that the first thing you need to do is you need to make that piece of art, which I spent, you can see I spent a good bit of time on that. Okay, I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just trying to show you something cool, to give you something really interesting that you might want to consider doing, okay, for your own good. Because again, I'm trying to help you make portfolio pieces here. This is important for you to have nice portfolio pieces. So these are things that I think will make nice portfolio. How did I get that cap? I went online and I found a presentation of a cap, and I literally brought it in, locked it down, and traced it off using Adobe Illustrator, okay? This here I just created using diverse elements. You can actually go online and look up barcodes, and you can get a bunch of barcodes. This is just one of the barcodes that I found online. It doesn't mean anything other than for our presentation. Okay, the little kitty, I mean, you have type there. You can see it's still live type. Meow Mix, that's actually a logo, Meow Mix logo that I found online, brought it in and placed it. And of course, chicken hearts, liver, feast and gravy. I got cats, so I just literally went in and took a look at some of their cans and decided on a few pieces of copy that I could put in there to give you an idea. So really, this whole thing mostly is to just give you an idea how to work with this 3D modeler. Okay, so once you create your little label for your object, if you decide to do this, you're going to select the whole thing, and you're going to drag it in here, and you're going to save it and name it label. And if you do a top, you're going to select the top, drag it in, and you're going to name that cap. And you're going to save it as a graphic element. That's really what it is. There's two ways that you can save it when you go in there. One of them is a flash, some kind of a flash thing, and the other is a graphic element, a graphic symbol. I think it's a flash symbol, and the other is a graphic symbol. Save them as graphic symbols. Okay, so that's basically how you do this. I can close this now because I don't need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly show you how I did this, if I can. So I'm going to select this shape, and I'm going to go up to the Effect menu, and I'm going to go to 3D, and I'm going to not revolve, but I'm going to go Extrude and Bevel. Now I got to move this extrude and bevel over here so that you can see it. And right now you're not seeing anything, but I'm going to go preview, and I'll click preview. And right away, can you see what happens? I get my preview showing me my can beginning in the process of setting it up. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move it in this direction here, and I'm going to try to get it to come up. until I got something similar to my other can right there. And you know what? I think that's actually pretty good. I think it's actually will show what I'm doing. There, I even made that a little bit better. So really all I did was I rotated this little icon around. The other way you could do this is you could come up here and you could choose a custom rotation. Off axis front. Let's go off axis back. Let's go off axis left, isometric left. See, so you could do these if these apply. I don't really think this works for me very well. I think the direction I was going in was better, and I think it's easier for me to, at this point, to just come and do something like this. And there, I'm pretty close to what I want right there. That's really close to what I want right there. Now, there are two other things I could do. I could come in here and I could play around with my lighting, okay, and I can get different lighting effects, which I think actually that's a little bit closer. I can even add a light, which I can then bring maybe up onto the top, and I can try to highlight the top a little bit. Yeah, so you see now where I got a little bit of light on the top and I got a little bit of light on the side. And all I did was I added a light and dragged it up to the top. I can do the same thing with this light. I can move the light around and I can place it anywhere that I want. I can put lights, as many lights as I want. In this particular case, I don't think I'm going to put more than a couple of lights on it. The blend steps, I might make the blend steps a little bit bigger because you see it's now smoother. It's got a nicer look. I might even go a little higher on that. Okay, I'm showing you just a couple of very simple things. There's a lot of stuff in here. Do not let it intimidate you. It really is not that difficult if you go in and play with it. The other thing I need to do now that I've done this is two things. Number one, I got to stretch out the extrude depth so that I can make it look like that can. And I do that right here. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to start dragging this out. I went to 185. Now this is a very slippery little guy, so it's very hard to do this. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to start dragging it back. This thing really slides around quite a bit. So it is not the easiest thing to do. And I'm going to probably stop it around, let's try around 130 if I can get it to go to 130. It doesn't even want to go. I may end up having to do this 135. Let's put it in that way. So I got 135. And now I'm going to click on something else, and you can see there's 135. Okay? All right, so now that I've done that, what I want to do is I want to put my graphics on this thing. Now, I had no trouble putting the top graphic on it last time. I don't know whether I'm going to have problems with it now or not, but I'm going to certainly give it a try. We'll see what happens. I'm going to start off by clicking Map Art. When you click on Map Art, two things happen. You see this little icon right here, and you see that little red icon right there. What this is telling you is that you have this symbol and you have these surfaces, and you have three surfaces in this particular graphic. You have the top, you have the side, that's actually the bottom, and then you have the side. And each time you click on, you see how the side looks? And it looks like a barrel. Come back here to 3, and that's the top, or that's 1, I'm sorry, and then go to 2, and that's the bottom. So what I want to do is I want to go to 3 first, and over here to symbol, if you drop on this, you'll see that in here I'm looking at my label and I'm looking at my cap. So what I'm going to do first is for the side, I'm going to choose my label, and now my label is there. The only problem is my label is upside down. So what I got to try to do, and this is really a pain in this particular case, is I got to try to turn it around and make it the right side, which is that side right there. Okay? And then I have to see if I can rotate it around. There we go. Okay, and it's too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by going scale to fit. And there I've scaled to fit it, and actually that isn't right either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start distorting it and try to get it to fit the way I want it to look. And again, see, it's upside down. So I got to probably play with this a little bit. I guess what I have to do is, boy, this thing's really being a pain tonight, huh? Let's try it again. Let's try flipping it around and see if that'll do it. Yeah, now let's, there we go. Okay, now we're in business. Okay, so now it's just really a question of, oh boy, it really is being a problem here. Okay, well that's good enough. That'll do me for now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Hold down the shift key and make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, there we go. And let's move it up a little bit. Now we're getting somewhere like that. And that's better. Okay, I think we're getting closer. Let's make it even a little bit smaller. That's probably good. And let's move it up just a little bit. Right about like this. Let's try to get around the center. That's good. I'm going to go with that for now. What I think I may do, though, I think I may move it over this way just a bit. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get rid of that, this guy right here. Try to get him right on the end of the tail end of the cat. So I don't see that. There we go. That's probably good. Now I just got to move it up a little bit. Okay, so that's how I get that label. And again, you remember what I did when it came in. It was kind of funny. I played with it. I got it lined up properly by just basically moving it around. That's really what it is. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top surface and I'm going to see whether I can get that cap on there. So there's the cap. Okay, so there's the cap. Now what I need to do is scale the fit, and there you have your cap. And I'm going to hit OK and hit OK. And even though this isn't quite as perfect as this, I did work with this a little bit, play with it, and maneuvered it a little bit. That's basically the idea of how you do that, okay? I really think that if you try this out, it'll work for you. The key to doing it is just basically making a very simple shape, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to show you one other thing. Come in here, and I'm going to go to Appearance, and now in the Appearance panel, you'll see that it says Extrude and Bevel. If I click on this, it brings me back into Extrude and Bevel, and you can see I can come in and I can hit Preview, and it's now previewing the thing, okay? So why I'm showing you this is because if you want to come in and edit this thing, if you want to go in and modify it and play with it and adjust it, you should really open up the Appearance panel, which you find here under Window. And in Appearance, with the object selected, which is nothing more than a circle, you can see it, it's still there. You can click on this, and if you want, hit Delete, and it's thrown away, and now this is really basically the circle, okay? So really, that's how you do this. Do you have to do this? No. But you might want to do this. You might look at this and go, holy mackerel, I didn't know that this program does this. And you could go in and you could try to do this, okay? And I recommend that you do, because to be honest with you, these are things that you should learn how to do. So this is another part of what you might possibly consider doing for your project. So let's go back to my PowerPoint and let's move on from there. So I have this, it's the same thing with this. This is my Pepsi. All right. Now, again, this is what a combination mark. This is basically a combination mark. Here's your graphic symbol, and this is the word Pepsi. And this is more or less what these cans look like. They basically have this large symbol here, and they have text very similar to this. This is not the exact same text. I didn't have the font on my computer, so I wasn't able to make the text exactly the same. But what I did was I made it close enough that I think if anybody were to look at it, they weren't going to be able to have a problem understanding this. So let's go into Illustrator real quick, and I'll show you that. So I'll go File, Open, and I'll get you my Pepsi can and hit Open, aluminum can. Okay, and hit Close. So this is my Pepsi can. Let's go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. How did I do this? Really simple. Take a look. Right here is the what's known as a well, I'm going to call it a slice. I'm trying to remember the name, the word, and whenever I go to say these things, I always forget them. It's essentially an edge is what I created. It's an edge of that can. And how did I do that? I went online. I'm going to go File, Place. Where are we at here? File. Oh, it's not letting me place. Well, I can't place. What's the matter with this thing? All right, so let me come here and let me put this down. Let me go here and grab it. Let's see if I can grab the thing. Darn, it won't let me place. That's funny. File, Place. Yeah, look at that. It won't let me place. Isn't that a pain in the neck? I wonder if it's because the layer's locked. Hold on. Let me go to Window and go to Layers. Let me see. That's what it is. Oh, the layer's hidden. Oh, there we go. Okay, so these two things I'm going to get out of here for now. And this thing I'm going to get out of here for now. But now I can place. So let me go File, Place. Okay, there's my aluminum can, hit place. So there's my aluminum can. Okay, now the aluminum can is way too big, but I can scale the thing down by coming in here, holding down the shift key and bringing this thing down if it will let me do it. Again, things just don't want to work. There we go. Okay, so there's my can. So what I did literally was I went online and I found a can. This is what the can looks like. That's what the can looks like. You can find this online, searching for blank aluminum can. And you should come up with literally a couple of hundred cans. And all I did literally was I picked the one that was a side view as much as possible. And I just used a pen tool. And I came in here and I clicked and 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 dragged. And what I did was I created half of a can. I went to about the middle of this and I created a half of a can. That's the half of the can right there. And because I wanted this can to have a metallic-y silver look, I basically set the stroke of it to a light gray right about there. See what I did? And I even added a little bit of blue into it, okay, so that it gives it kind of a, and let's make it even lighter, a kind of a light bluish gray color, which will give you a nice aluminum look. So that's what that is. That's really a stroke. And all it is a line that I drew from here, okay? It's a little bit of work to do it, and you have to go online and you have to find a can. But believe me when I tell you, it's an awful lot of fun to do this. Now, as far as the I don't need the layers anymore, and the appearance, I can close that for a second. But I do know I need the go to window and I need to open up the symbols again. And what I have in here is this guy. Now watch. There's my symbol. This is the symbol that I created. And what it is, basically, it's just a large area of blue, which is very much like the color blue. I do not know what the exact color blue is, but this is very much the color of blue that you see on a Pepsi can. And what I did here was I actually went online and I created a logo. I made a clipping mask. I actually created a piece of art for the red, and I created a piece of art from the blue using a logo that I found online. And you can go online and you can find all this stuff very easily. Now, I didn't try to redesign this. I just basically tried to recreate it so that you could see how you could recreate something like this and incorporate your own design into it. This wasn't even a project that I did for this class. This was a project that I did for another class, but I thought it was very relevant for what you're doing because it gives you an idea that you could actually create very easily some things that are quite nice that would be very acceptable in a branding environment like this. Plus, you would get to learn some really cool stuff about this program, Illustrator, which is what I really want you to do. So, do you have to do this? No, of course you don't have to do it, but it is something that I thought maybe you might enjoy doing. So let's go back and let's get out of here because we're just basically looking at this. And let me show you how I did this. So let me move this out of the way. So basically, there's my profile. It's selected. Again, I'm going to go into the effects menu and I'm going to go to 3D. Last time I did what was called an extrude and a bevel. Now, if I do an extrude and a bevel with this and I hit preview, I get something weird like this. Look at this. This is not what I'm looking for at all. Although it's kind of a cool thing. If you were making a piece of aluminum cast of some sort, this would be a great way to go. But this is not a can. So obviously, I'm not looking to extrude this thing. Let's hit cancel and get out of here. What I'm looking for here is Effect 3D Revolve. And now when I hit preview, I get that, which is much better. That's what I'm looking for. And actually, just the way I have it right now, I get something that looks very convincingly like an aluminum can. But what I want to do is, in this particular case, I want to have a front view of this. So there I have this front view, and there is my can. I'm going to hit OK for now and deselect it, and there's my can. Now, the big trick of this was in drawing that profile. That was the big trick. That was the hardest part of this. Creating this thing was nothing. All I did literally was went into the Effect 3D Revolve and revolved it and put it on a front perspective. It's really simple. The great thing about this is now I can select this again and I can come over here to my appearance panel, and if I click on 3D Revolve, I'm back in 3D Revolve, and I can come in here and I can hit preview, and I can come up here and I can change the perspective of it any way that I want, which I just think is so cool, because look at, I mean, you're actually look at that. I mean, this thing is full 360 degrees, and you want to bring it back to where you started. I want it to be in the front. Boom, there I am right in the front. Okay, so I can come in here now and I can play around with my lighting. I think what I did here was I added a few lights. So what I'm going to do is add another light, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring this light way over here on the edge, and I got to click on it to get it to stick there. There we go. And that light now is over here, and this light here, maybe what I'll do is I'll set that a little higher. There. Now we got something that's beginning to look kind of cool. Let's bring it down a little bit here. And that's probably too low, right about there. That's pretty good right there. So you see, I got something that's got like a hot spot up here, and I got a nice edge of color right there. So now the next step is I'm just going to apply my logo to this. To do that, and again, really all I'm doing is putting a couple of lights on this thing. I can control the lights if I want. I can control the blend steps. Again, I can make the blend steps go up, make them a lot smoother. I can come in here and choose that light right there, and I can change the light intensity. I can bring it down. Let's bring it down a little bit and see what happens. There we go. I'm bringing the light intensity down. You see how it's going down? I'm bringing it back up until I get it where I want it. Let's make it a little bit hotter. I like it a little bit hotter. That's probably good. I like that right there. That's great. Okay, so again, you've got all these different settings that you can play with here. Then finally what you can do is come into map art, and now what you're going to do is you're going to see that this guy has 19 surfaces. So don't get scared about this, because it's showing you the surfaces here. Those little red icons show you the surfaces. So you're just going to go through the surfaces, and you're going to look for the surface. There's that surface, and there's that surface. There's that surface. I don't know whether that's the front or the back, though. That might be the back. Let's keep going down, and let's see if that's the back, because I think it might be. Keep coming up. I'm going to go all the way down to 19, and we'll see. That, I think, is the front surface. That's what I'm looking for. Pretty sure. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to grab my label. And there's my label. And it actually fits pretty good. So what I want to do now is I want to just carefully start moving it around this direction here until I get it placed where I can see my Pepsi. Look at that. I went too far. Let's go back. I like it right about like that. Let's go a little bit further. I like it right about like that. That looks great. Okay, so really all I'm doing is I'm applying this to the surface. If you want, you can shade the artwork, which I prefer, but it also takes a greater strain on your system. Shading artwork means that, see how this is kind of like there's no shading on it. It just kind of looks bright. If you shade it, you get something that looks more like this. There, like that. It kind of blends it into the can. Now if I hit OK and hit OK and deselect it, I got my can looking very much like that can right there. That's essentially how I did it. Now what's great about this is now that I've done this, I can come into 3D Revolve again, hit preview, and I can start playing around with the positioning of my can. And look at this. The can literally can be moved. The position can be moved, and it'll still stay. If I go view, fit artboard and window. Let's see if I'm trying to get rid of this. Yeah, there we go. I'm getting rid of the redraw. There we go. There it is. So there you can see you can create your can and put your graphics on the can very simply, like I did with the other can. But this one involves literally getting yourself an object that you're going to trace. If you want, you can go to my website, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go WRS Design, wrsdesign.com. The reason I'm taking you here is because on my website, I'll show you some 3D elements that I created in There's a 3D element that I created. I created that element right there. That's my pen. I created that using 3D. And when we come down here, that Sharpie, I actually created that Sharpie in Adobe Illustrator 3D. And go down a little further, and this is an X-Acto pen or X-Acto knife. You probably have or have not seen these. As a graphic designer, we use them all the time. I don't really use them very much anymore, but I created the X-Acto knife in Adobe 3D. And this pencil was also created in Adobe 3D. And if I go to my portfolio, there's the pen again, but I scroll down, you'll see that here's the pencil showing up again. And there's another element that I created in Adobe 3D, which is the highlighter. I mean, they look extremely real. The reason they look so real is because I literally went into Adobe Illustrator with an object that I picked up online. I actually went in and I found a side view of this highlighter, and I went in and I created a profile of it, and I rendered it in Adobe 3D. Now you say to yourself, well, you know, why would you do this? Why would you go in and why would you create this when you could just go online and grab yourself a piece of art? You know, go grab a highlighter. Well, the point is, I'm creating a piece of vector art, which is, in a sense, an original piece of art because it isn't a picture. It's something that I create, and I could make it any size that I want, big or small. And also, it shows somebody my skill and ability as a graphic designer and with working with the program Illustrator. All of these things in the end are very easy to do. And again, I don't say that you have to do these things. I just suggest that these are possible things you might consider doing to create yourself a branding situation and a nice piece for your portfolio. If you created something like this or something like your can of cat food here, I mean, these would be very nice pieces for you to put in your portfolio, and you would be able to tell them how you went about doing it, creating them in Adobe 3D. So just something for you to think about, okay? Go back to this. Now, one final thing here. We're talking about branding. So what are we talking about? Branding starts off with a name for a brand. It could be anything. It could be Kentucky Fried Chicken. It could be Pepsi. It could be Coca-Cola, okay? And then, of course, you have your trademark. You have your symbols, your logo elements, and they are related to the brand name. Of course, the brand name is related to the trademark, okay? And then, of course, you're down to your branded objects, goods and services, staffs, anything that could be branded, any sort of a product. Again, you've seen a bunch of them up in here. And then, of course, the properties, your actual, pretended, and punitive. And then, of course, the identity and the trademark holders, target groups, and stakeholders. These are all people that would be working with these branded elements. So these are all the things that you think about when you create a branded environment, when you create a branded object. That's really ultimately what you have here. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do here, I guess is the last thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to open up DES 116 week 4, and I'm going to show you a number of other things. Actually, you know what I would like to do real quickly? Go back into here, and I would like to come back to my, I'd like to go to, let's see, here we go. There we go. Okay, here's what I want to show you. These are a couple of things that I did. Let's see, it's the first one on the firma. New product introduction flyer. Here's another piece about, nope, sorry. That's not it. Let's go back. I think it's a little lower down. These are a couple of things that I want to show you that I've currently worked on for the company that I'm working for currently. Come on. Let's go to this. I'm hitting the wrong thing here. Let's go to inbox. Let's go down to, I think I got to go a little lower. There's the president's letter. Okay, here's one. This is an HTML email. Again, geez, that's the wrong one. Oh man, I'm having no luck. Let's go back into inbox. President's letter, clearance sale. There it is, clearance sale. That's the one I'm looking for. Special closeout clearance. I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. So this is an HTML email. This is another form of an object that you can create. Here, what I've done basically is I've created an advertisement that can attach itself to an email. And here we're working with the Firma. This is the old Firma logo. I'm working on a new version of a Firma logo for them, but this is their current version of the Firma logo. And as you could see, it's literally a word mark. And then, of course, it has some symbolism here, but they're really basic symbols. There's nothing too snappy about it. It's just a couple of stars and a line. American and Exotic Collection. That's essentially their little trade line. Okay, and what we did here basically is we produced for them a closeout special. These are certain flooring that they are going to be discontinuing, and they're closing them out. So this particular special is for that purpose. And then, of course, down at the bottom, we repeat the branding elements, and then we have all their contact information down here. So that's one piece that I did for them. And then what we did, another thing that we did was we have holiday, a couple of holiday emails. These particular HTML emails don't serve as sales purposes. These elements, and this is something that you might want to consider doing in your branding as well. There are holidays, and I don't have a problem if you come up with a holiday ad to showcase your branding elements. So what I did here was I created this. Again, we got the branding up here. You notice it's always in the same place here. But what I did here was have a happy holiday, and this doesn't sell anything. Nothing at all. This is just basically a nice thing that you do for your customers, from all of us at Firma Flooring to all of you and your family, blah, 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 blah. Of course, we do have the phone number and all that stuff down there, but our goal here is to show them the product, which we are showing in a very, I would say, you know, covert kind of way. In other words, we're not really trying to sell anything. We are just trying to send them a very positive holiday message and more or less let them know that we care about them. So that's what this particular piece is. Okay, so that's another thing that you might want to do. And another thing that I did for them just recently was, let's see, where is it? Where's the president's letter? President's letter. Here we go. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's see if it's down there. Nope, it's not. That's not the one. That's special. I guess I got to scroll up. Where was it? I know it's here. President's letter. That might be it. Nope, it's not it either. All right, president's letter. All right, you know what? I'm not going to bother with this. I can't find it. This is the New Year's. I did the same thing with this. This is the New Year's version of that. Yeah, here we go. This is what we did for New Year's. And again, the same basic premise. This is nothing but Happy New Year's from your friends at Firma Flooring, wishing you all and very best holiday, happiness, prosperity, yada, yada, yada. So all this is, and again, you know, we're just showing some product. We're not trying to sell them anything. We're just trying to send them a message that's a very positive message that makes the company look extremely attractive to them over the holiday, which really they're not thinking about putting down flooring. But the bottom line is we do have the opportunity to send them a very nice, very beautiful, very appropriate message. And instead of just sending them the generic kind of message, we actually tailor our messages so that it does include who we are and what we do. So this is another possible thing for you to do. If you'd like, I'll drag this over here. It's not going to let me do it, is it? Let me see if I can download the image. Hold on. Yeah, it's going to click on it. Save image as. Here we go. Now we're in business. Goodyear's final. Yeah, let's do that. Week 4, hit save. Okay, now the reason I'm doing this is because, again, I'm going to open up Illustrator, and I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close this, and save it. No. And I'm going to open, file, open, and I'm going to find myself my Christmas thing here, if I can locate it. It's in here somewhere. Here we go, New Year's final. Well, that's okay. The New Year's final is good. That's the same. It's the same thing. So open. There we go. Okay, now what I want to do with this here is I want to go view fit all in window. And oops, I'm wrong way. Zoom out. I guess I got to zoom out. Zoom out. Okay, so there you go. Once again, if I wanted to, I can come in here and I can just change the size of this artboard by clicking on the artboard tool, and I can adjust the size of the artboard. And there's a real reason I'm doing this. Let's drag this up. Whoops. Drag this down. Make sure I drag it right. Okay, so there we go. I think that's probably good. Nope, I didn't quite get it all, did I? Nope, I didn't. Let's go all the way to the bottom. There. All right, selection tool. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find my window. Let's go to artboards, and I'm going to artboard options. Now, the reason that I did this was because I wanted to show you that this particular piece is 600 pixels wide by 1,140 pixels deep. So I'm doing it because if you decide that you want to create something like this and call it an HTML email, I'm giving you something that would give you an idea of what that size is. But again, you don't have to really do that. You can just go up here. Let's get out of here. And let's get out of here and let's go file new. And again, come in here to web, and you've got these different sizes. You're 600 by 480. If you want to go with that and hit OK, okay, and then you can go view zoom out, and then what you can do is use your artboard tool, and you can come here and you can drag this and make this as long as you need to make it to make an HTML email, because essentially that's more or less what I do. When I create an HTML email in Illustrator, I'll build it, and if I need it to go deeper, I just open the artboard up and drag the artboard down. So, again, view zoom out, and I can continue going with this until I get it the size that I want. Then when I get it to the size that I want, I can click on this and go view fit artboard in window. Boom, now I got the artboard blown up, and I can go in there and I can use that to create an HTML email. Again, why am I doing all this? Why am I telling you all this? I can't creatively tell you how to pick a brand and brand it, but what I can do is I can show you some of the different things that you might use to make your job easier using Illustrator. These are all the things that I use when I create these things, okay? So the next thing I want to do real quickly is just show you a few more things here. Okay, we saw that and looked at that one. Get out of here. Branding, let's see, cat food, cigarettes. You can also make a poster, okay? Here's a poster. This is a piece of art that I created, okay? And this is for a poster. This is another thing that you can do. And let's see where the poster is in Illustrator. I know I have it in here somewhere. Probably got to go down to get it. Poster AI, here we go. So here's another thing that you could do. You could come in here and guides, hide guides, there we go. You could come in and you can create a poster. That's another thing that you could do. So you have all sorts of different options. This was another piece that I did for another class, totally unrelated to this class. But again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you some ideas as to what you can do to create something that you can use to present to me in this branding environment. So it can be a poster, it can be any kind of a web banner that you want. You can create a web page or a web banner as opposed to a header. You can create a header too. You create a business card or a stationery set. A logo would be one thing that you would do. But if you do the logo, then I definitely want to see you incorporate the colors, and I want you to give me an idea of what colors you're picking, why you're picking them, and what specifically are the colors. And I also would like you to consider whether those colors are going to be available for you in RGB and CMYK. Maybe I should quickly show you that a little bit. So to do that, let me close these up. Let me get these things out of here, and let me show you a little bit about that so that you can do that. Okay, so here I'm going to go file. Let's just go file new, and let's draw a file. And I'll come in here and I'll grab a shape. And right now I'm just going to put black into it, okay? And I'm going to bring the fill forward. Let's get rid of the stroke and bring the fill forward. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit with color. So here's what I generally like to do. I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to open up my swatches. And when I'm working on a project like this, I got all these swatches in here. They don't really mean anything to me. So what I generally like to do with them is I like to select them all like this. And then I hit the garbage can and make them go bye-bye. They're all gone. And then what I would do is I would come over here, and you see where it says swatch libraries? I could also go here, open color themes panel if I wanted to go, if I was bringing colors in. Okay, here's my color themes panel. These are my colors. These are my colors that I chose on Cooler. And when you save colors to your color themes, you can import them by just clicking here and refreshing, and what it'll do is it'll bring in any colors that you have. So you can see that I got a bunch of colors that I used here. These are some of the chocolate colors I was telling you about when I made the chocolate project. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. Go up in the Cooler, save a color theme, and then import it right here by clicking on that. The other thing that you could do is come here to the swatch library menu. And if you click on this, there are a whole bunch of different swatch libraries here. And all of these got wonderful color in it, but I think the one from a production standpoint for our purposes, the one that's most important for us is the color books. These are the actual color books that you would use to produce color if you were going to go to a process or a spot color printing. Now, here's what I would recommend for you. I would recommend that you come over here and choose this one right here, and I'll tell you why. Pantone plus CMYK, coded. Most of the times, you're going to be using coded stocks. Most of the times. Not all the time, because if you look right below it, it says Pantone and CMYK uncoded. But most of the times, you're going to be using CMYK and Pantone coded. So, if you want to pick a color, and if you're going to use a color that's going to work both as a spot color and a Pantone color, this is the color book that you want. So I'm going to click that, and the color book opens up. And here's my color book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this guy open, and in here are all the colors that you could possibly want. There are all kinds of colors in here. I mean, I have no idea what color I want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my swatches. I'm going to throw this away. And I am going to add a couple of colors into here so that you can see how this works. So I'm going to click on that one there, and I've added that color. And let me get a red color just for the heck of it. Just make it a little bit different. Let's get that color right there. Okay, so now I got these two colors, and notice that each time I click that with this selected, that color goes into it. Okay, so let's do this. Let's come down and let's duplicate this, and let's make one that color and one that color, and let's deselect it. And now let's take a look at our swatches panel. So the first thing that you need to understand is that this is a Pantone color and a CMYK color. So the first thing that you need to know is both of those two colors there will be able to be made into either Pantone or CMYK. Pantone color means essentially that it's a color that's going to be printed on its own plate, whereas CMYK gets separated in the four-color process. So in order for me to show you the difference between the two, I'm going to double-click on that. Okay, and when I double-click on it, I get the Swatch Options dialog box. Right now, it's showing you the Pantone color name, P62-16C. And right now, it's a process color. Now, let me tell you, while we're at this point, how you can visually see that here. If you take a look at those two colors, you'll notice that in the lower right-hand corner, there's like a little white clip area. Can you see that? That little white clip area right now shows you that it is a process color. Now, the other color type that I have here is spot color. I want you to take a look at what happens to that corner when I click on spot color and hit preview. You see what happens? You get a little dot in there. So when you're looking at these colors, and if you see a corner that looks like that on your color, that color right there is not a spot or a Pantone color. That's just a regular old black. That's just a regular old white. That right there is right now, currently, a CMYK color. That right there is a spot color. And you can easily change that back to being a process color by just clicking there. Okay? So let's make that a spot color. And now let's select the other color. I have to hit OK. I have to select the other color by double-clicking it, bringing this up, and click on it and make it a spot color. And then, of course, you can change the color mode from grayscale RGB CMYK. I can change it to CMYK, and you can see what it looks like in CMYK. Hit OK. And now both of these are spot colors. What that means essentially is, again, they are singular colors. You would print those colors on their own plate. So you wouldn't use that unless you were like making a business card or something where you're actually only printing one or two colors. The majority of the time you would either be working in CMYK, in which case you would come in here, double click on it, and just change it from spot color to process color and hit OK, and the corner would look like that. Now the other one, I'm going to click on that and I'm going to change it to process color, and I'm going to change it to RGB and hit OK. And now that color is an RGB color, which would be something that you could use on the web. Okay? So that's just something that I thought maybe I should show you, because you need to know how to go about picking color. And I think ultimately you're going to find that your best choice, if you're going to pick color, would be to come here and go to Color Books and go to Pantone CMYK Coded. That's the one that I recommend first and foremost. There are many other books in here, and they serve different purposes. But what I find generally is the strongest choice is the Pantone plus CMYK Coded, especially if you're working on a branded environment like this, because it is very important for you to create a logo. And when you create a logo, make sure that you decide on a color scheme that can be made from spot color and process color. Absolutely essential. Sooner or later, you may not use it every day, sooner or later you're going to need a spot color. Sooner or later you're going to need a CMYK color, and you have to have a color that will transfer from one to the other without changing colors. When I did that, you'll notice these colors did not change at all. The reason that is because they are both colors that are available in CMYK and spot color. You can go in here, let's see if I can do this. Click on this, and I can click on a color. Okay, and let's see if I can find one that's out of, I'm looking for another one that's out of Gambit. There we go, that's the one that I want. Hit OK. Now I'm going to drag that color into there. Now this color here, I double click on it, and I'm going to change this to a spot color. Notice that I have an out of Gambit warning. That means essentially that this particular color will not represent itself properly for the web. This one will not represent itself properly for print. And it's a little hard for you to see that, but if you click on this, I want you to focus on this and see it'll change slightly. Did you see it change slightly? And that's because that color is not available to print. That bright color cannot be made. So that has to change. And if you click on this one, it changes again. Click on that one, it changes again. And you'll notice these sliders move as you do this. This is web. Click on it. The web color is going to be different than the printer color. So this is something that you kind of want to try to avoid. It is not a great idea to go into a place like this and try to generate color. And when you do that, look for these symbols right here, because this is telling you it's out of Gambit. What that means, out of Gambit, means it's out of color range. It is not a color that is within the normal range of CMYK. This is out of Gambit for the web, or in web, I should say. If you click on this, you can see there's a slight difference between that color and the original color to get it into Gambit for the web. Here you click on this, and it's going to be now in range for print. But it's changed. The color's changed. Okay, so that's essentially what I wanted to point out there. It's not always a good idea to just grab a color from here. It's much better when you're doing design work such as what we're doing here. You come to the swatches library, you go down to your color books, and you come over and you find any one of these you want, but I just recommend that you use Pantone CMYK Coated and come in here, pick your color out of here. There's tons of color. I mean, you really can have a field day with color in here. Anything you could possibly, even got black. Look, there's an actual Pantone processed black. Look at the difference. That is basic black that comes with your swatches in Illustrator. If you click on it, hit delete, you can make that go away. And now what you have is you have Pantone processed black. You can do the same thing with Pantone processed black. You can double click it, and you can come in here and you can make that a spot color. Now that black is going to print on a spot color plate, a single color plate. Come back here and change this to process color, and this is now a processed version of that color. So again, and they even have white up here. These are actually whites. Okay, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure whether they truly are white or not. I think they are. That I think is white. Pantone. Well, it's not actually. If I come over here and make a shape, let's make a shape. There's the shape, and let's put that white in it. There's that white. And now let's make another shape next to it. Edit, copy. Edit, paste in place. Let's compare the two. Move this over. And now I'm going to put the regular white into it. And now let's select both of them. There they are. If we look at these things close up, they're pretty close. Actually, you can see there's a little bit of a pinkish color to that one. I'm right there. See it? There it is. There's a little bit of a pinkish color to that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a black stroke on it. Put a black stroke on it so you can see it. And there is my pinkish color. Now with the black stroke, I think you can see it a little bit better. So that is not really a true white. That's a true white. Okay, now whether those other colors turn into white, I'm beginning to think no, they're not going to. That's the closest they come to a white, and as you can see, it's got a slight pink hue to it. So again, you got to be very careful not to get confused by all this stuff. But ultimately, the key to this is that you are going to create. You're going to be creating 5 different objects in a branding environment. What they are is totally up to you. That's it. That's all I got for tonight. I thank you for coming in. You know how to reach me if you have a problem. Have a good night.